What's up, movie lovers? We're the Hilsmaniacs, and to kick off our week of Halloween-related content that we're going to be doing, that we are calling Halloween, we're going to be talking about a Disney Halloween classic called Hocus Pocus. Okay, so basically, if you haven't seen Hocus Pocus, it is a very, very good Halloween movie to watch. I liked it. I've seen it a couple times. I wouldn't say I watch it every year for Halloween. You know, it's not one of those movies. But I have seen it a couple times, and I do enjoy it every time. And I think just kind of the premise of the movie itself, you know, these three witches are killed during the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts, and then 300 years later, somebody lights a candle and it brings them back to life, and now they wreak havoc in I think it was 1993, I think was the year it came out. So the modern day Salem, which would have been 93, I think, at that point. I think that's when it came out, 93, 95, somewhere.
If this wasn't like a comedy, I feel like this could have been like a really creepy movie. These three old hags coming back to life through the use of their eye book. I'm calling it. It's a book with a freaking eyeball on it.
Yeah, they invented the iPad. I mean, look at this.
And it has all our spells in it and everything. Like, if that had been any other, if it hadn't been from Disney, if it had been like any other genre, it probably would have been a horror thing. It's kind of creepy to think about too. I mean, the way the witches look is like.
I like the idea that they are planning on making a second one, and I heard somewhere that they were working on a script and all kinds of stuff for the second one, where the witches return again.
People need to quit opening this book.
Yeah. So spoiler alert: at the end of the movie, the witches end up turning to dust. And are assumed to be dead forever. They got Thanos'd away by the sun, and they're no more in Salem until they come back in the new one, if they make a new one. But overall, I think the movie was really fun and kind of like I said, a unique concept, you know, because we never really had a movie that focused on like witches, but also like when they come back to modern day, they weren't just like, oh yeah, I know what a car is. Like, no, they had to figure this stuff out. And when they came back.
That's something I like too. It kind of stayed consistent with everything, because like they've been dead for 300 years and they come back to this modern thing. They think these kids are walking around trick or treating, and they think they're all these little mini monsters and stuff, and then they realize that they're kids. All this other stuff, you know, it kind of stayed consistent throughout it.
Right, like they didn't know what a bus was, they didn't know what a road was. The one kid, his name is Max, he like uses a lighter to set off the sprinklers in their house, which creates water, and they're like, oh, he called it the burning rain of death, so they're like, oh, we're gonna get hurt, we gotta go hide, and then they're like, oh, it's just water, you know. But it was just that consistency, I think, that like they weren't just like here and they know what a car is so they can go drive, or you know, they can do this or that. Like, they didn't know what this stuff was, and so that, I think, really brought it back to life, that it was a movie set in the past until now. You know, then it helps kind of hammer in the fact that they are in the real world now. You know, this is modern day. This is taking place now, and that's what I like. Well, at least now for.
I think it was really good, like the way, like we said, with the consistency and everything. It was like, as they kept making their plan, you know, because they wanted to take all these children so that they could, like, you know, suck out their souls, and then they could be younger and live forever and stuff like that. And that stayed consistent throughout as well. The movie never kind of like steered away from what it was. it was a comedy, but it was also, it had a bit of creepy moments, you know, like, 'cause they're witches, so they set a spell on, like, the parents and everything
Right. There was
else.
a zombie,
You know, yeah, there's like a zombie that used
a
to,
talking cat.
yeah, so all kinds of just weird stuff. And I mean, it's a fun movie just to sit down and kind of laugh at a
Yeah.
little bit, and it's got some creepy stuff to it, but nothing too. I mean, it's Disney, but yeah, it never tried to like be something else. It never just went away from the plot, because the witches were kind of the main characters, I guess, because it kept showing that, like, the movie started showing them. They took
Right.
this little girl and were trying to do the same thing they're trying to do now. You know, they wanted to make themselves younger. So, and then, you know, they're doing the same thing, so it never steered away from what it was trying to be.
Right. I think overall my favorite part was when they meet this guy dressed as the devil, they think it's their master, because they explain earlier on that Winifred, who's played by Bette Midler, sold her soul to the devil basically, and he gave her this book with all these spells, and that's why she's such a powerful witch. And so when this guy comes out on Halloween night dressed as the devil, it's just one of those things, and they're like, "Master," and they're trying to figure out all this stuff, and he invites them in, and this and that, and like they know the story of the Sanderson sisters, so he thinks it's just people dressed up and pretending to be the sisters when it's actually them, and that, I think that was the funniest part of the movie, because he's like playing along without intentionally playing along,
and he even tries to get his wife in on it. He's like, "Honey, look, it's the Sanderson sisters, my favorite girls."
Their little dog named Ralph scares them out of the house. And if that's not my favorite scene, then I think another one of my favorite scenes, and you can take this with a grain of salt if you will. See what I did there? Grain of salt. Yeah. It would be the part with I think his name was Billy, the zombie, and just any scene he's in. I mean, he literally loses his head twice. Literally loses his head. And they're trying to keep the little girl safe. At the end of the thing, they put salt around the grave, and she's supposed to stay in there because the witches can't go near salt, I guess. That's a thing. So remember that. If you ever see a witch, just throw salt at them.
That's what happened.
Just be salty.
That's what happened with Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, just be salty towards them.
They'll
just evaporate or something. But and then he loses his head, so then she crawls out of the thing to help him, and that's when she gets captured, because the witches can't land in the cemetery because it's hallowed ground, I guess. But it's just funny how he's supposed to be this like zombie, and he's like one of the funniest characters.
Right.
And Winifred brings him back to help her catch the kids, and he's just like, "Nah, I'm good."
I think my favorite, it's not just a scene in particular, I guess, but like my favorite thing about the whole movie is just the way that the three Sanderson sisters, or the witches in the movie, kind of just talk to each other. They're just like, I mean, you can tell they're sisters, so like they'll be arguing with each other, like, what should we do with this child, and blah blah blah. Just the way they talk and the way they move and everything.
Well, and that and there's always, on your point, there's always like that one like dominant sibling, and it seems to be like Winifred in this one, and then Sarah's kind of like the rebel one, the one played by Sarah Jessica Parker. She's like the one that wants to do her own thing but still kind of listens. But then Mary's always the one that's trying to please. She's like, "Yes, sister, I'm right here, sister. Here you go, sister." The other two are
kind of dumb, and then she's like the smart one that figures out that the sprinkler isn't really fire water or whatever, and all this stuff. Every time the kids trick them into doing something, it's like
daylight savings.
She's the one that figures it out. Yeah. I don't know. It's just that made me laugh every time I see them. Like, even when they're walking together, they're going like, "Ooh, ooh."
Yeah. And I mean, just the things they say that like to each other that have nothing to do with the plot of the movie. Yeah. They're just like talking to each other, and
did you see the football game last week?
No, because Mary, played by Kathy Najimy, she's the one that can smell the children, I guess, and she's always like, "Oh, I smell a child," and then Winifred's like, "There's literally a kid right here." Yeah, no kidding, you smell the child.
But yeah, I mean, it's not even like it's a spoof. of the movie either. Like, or it's
Right.
not like a spoof of other horror movies. It's just
Right,
straight
because
up, like,
there hasn't been
its own
anything.
thing. You know, and it was from Disney, so there's going to be that humor in there.
Yeah.
I just thought the whole movie was funny. There's nothing I didn't really like about it, I guess. It's just a fun, like, family friendly.
Right, and it's not scary in any way.
No.
You know, it's all kind of,
It's kind of
and
funny.
the fun, you know, the fun of it is that there's not just like, oh, they're trying to run away from these witches. There's also like the real life aspect to it. You know, like Max is getting bullied by these other kids at the beginning of the movie. You know, that we see them in school. They're telling the story of the Sanderson sisters. So they give you this kind of real life aspect to the movie,
Right.
while also trying to make them escape from the witches.
And that's what leads into, like, you know, him kind of being a rebel at one point, because, like, there's this one girl he likes, and she talks about, you know, they had the Sanderson sisters' house is like a museum now, so she's like, why don't we, she wanted to go up there, and he's like, why don't we go, you know, and then that's how things end up unfolding, because he, like, lights the one candle, and he thinks everything's a joke, and it wasn't real, and all this stuff, and they're just myths or stories about the Sanderson sisters.
Because he doesn't believe in Halloween. Right. What kind of scumbaggery is that?
It's kind of that teenage, like, naivety that he has, where, like, just like you'd see in a horror movie, like, let's go to Michael Myers' house. You know, nothing bad could happen.
There's somebody in the basement. Let's go into the basement. Let's go.
And it's, you know, and that's how things unfold. So it's like you still got that, like, something similar to a horror film, but it's not. It's just it's basically a comedy through and through, with a little hints of, like, this is kind of terrifying a little bit. Like, if this witches were, because they can't seem to kill the witches no matter what they do, because they're immortal for that one day or whatever, according to the spell that brought them back. Right. So, like, they can't be
unless
killed.
they step foot in the graveyard.
Right. All in all, I'd say, I mean, it's a perfect movie for watching. It's a perfect movie for what it was. It's just a comedy, you know, and it's been on. I think it's on TV still.
Probably,
like,
I think Disney probably shows it. I think it's on Disney Plus too.
I called it a classic. I mean, I don't know how popular it was, but if they're making a
sequel, I would assume it was popular. I mean, Disney has done like different things at Disney World, you know, based on it. So
yeah, if you've never seen Hocus Pocus, then go check it out. And also, if you have seen it, then let us know down in the comment section what you liked about the video, about the movie, and what your favorite part of it was. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Again, all this week we're going to be doing some Halloween-related content, so if you're a fan of, you know, the holiday of Halloween, you know, and everything pertaining to that, then stick around for our channel. So Halloween will pick up tomorrow right here on our channel, so stick around for that if you're a fan of that kind of thing. And thank you for watching the video, everyone. We'll see you in the next one.
Happy Halloween.